What's up, maintainers? This is Joe, and here on my fourth video, keeping it going, keep it going. Uh, Let me know if these little shorts are giving you value, helping you out with other things in your life where um, you may want to share, save it for later. However, these videos' mission is to help you out. Okay, so just real quick videos, not trying to make it longer than 20 minutes so that you can grasp it. If you're sitting on that porcelain, the king porcelain there, and watching these videos and the captions so that way you can listen to it in peace while taking a break, releasing the demons, right? So um, uh, it's just, some of these topics are just topics that are top of mind that I hear quite often, on top of mind of several military members, right? So, um, and I want to provide this value to you. Okay. So, as I make more of these videos, getting better with sharing the information, trying to make sure it engages. This is not to dismiss one person or institution or credential than the other. It's just some people don't like college. Some people don't want to go to college. Some people don't like if you're the type who this is more for the military members and veterans that have busy lives, want to get this credential fast and soon. A lot of people will say that, hey, this is not a legit school, this is not a legit institution, you're not certified, you're not certificated, you're not, who are you to say blah, blah, blah. Well, for 5 years, 6 years, you can say that I've been running a prep school for echo on maintenance successfully. Um, we had minimal issues. We had, yeah, of course, there's going to be some that don't like us. There's going to be some that, but the majority of them did pass, get their FAs, and that's my mission is to make sure we grow the awareness of these type of programs. There's great schools out in Tennessee. There's great schools in the southeast of the United States, and I just got a text yesterday saying that these services are needed for a certain region, and so I try to help them out and provide all this information for you for free, so that way you can take what you share. And I've been to bases where they want to know the information. So I go there in person or I meet with the entire units of their aviation maintenance, bring me out. So, and before all this, I even was helping the liaison from a base to the FAA so they can get their, how to like make this whole structure streamlined to get their A&P authorizations, the sign offs, and the checklist. Okay, so I even that goes further than say 6 years. So I got out in 2018, so we're at 8 years of helping guys get their A&P from step one, getting authorized to prepping them, and now we're evolving to get you placed in connecting with you with great companies because these guys come to me. They come to me and I was like, hey, do you got, mechanics? Do you have some veterans or people who are getting out? And they want to know these questions. So I want to grow the awareness for you that these guys are looking for you. And they're not just small companies. It's tiny, it's small, it's medium-sized businesses, it's regionals, it's MROs, it's, cool companies that work on celebrity aircraft, Netflix. We're talking about Walmart. All the way up and into what the major airlines. So at all sectors and all types of niches in the aviation maintenance, they're looking for mechanics like you. Okay, so one of the things is that I'm noticing is people are going to college to get them, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I'm letting you know right now is do you need to go to your college? And I'll tell you right now, I've never had an FAA rep, inspector, or a DME ask me, where did you go to college? Okay. An employer has never asked me, where did you go to college? Okay. Especially when it comes to aviation maintenance. Okay. So, what does the FAA really want? Or what do they care about? right? So that's the topic of this video is what is it they really care about? And uh, I'll make this super short. If you can start the video after, I'll tell you what it is, right? So what that is they care about your experience. And the video is going to be about what does it mean when they say I care about experience? When does that start? I get questions about this quite often where people say, well, I went to school. Does that count? No, school, your tech school does not count. And an FAA guy, this is from an FAA guy, the experience, and it's not in the rule book. However, we know for sure tech school doesn't count. Okay. And just because you went to your first, you know, assignment and that's what you did. But if you got put in the tool crib, that experience in your tool crib does not count. Okay. So those are the for sure things. All right. So the other thing is the rule of thumb that this FAA inspector told me is that just a rule of thumb is the time starts when you first arrive to your station. When you report to duty to your flight chief, your commander, and you stepped into his office, and with your day one of military service and active duty or whatever full time that you took. Okay, so that's when the time starts because you're jumping into training, you're jumping into your on the job training, right? Not your tech school. Obviously they gotta get you spun up. So rule of thumb, that's most inspectors start your time. Okay, I haven't heard anything different. I'm sure a certain inspector might say something different. On I haven't been told that, but this guy was very specific on saying a rule of thumb. This is when the time starts. So that way you have an idea when that time started. Okay. If an inspector comes in and asks me, please let me know. And it's not that I just like to hear that type of feedback so that way I can adjust if needed. All right. So, and the same thing, write me in the comments if you're an FAA inspector or, let's have a chat. So that way we can get that information out there accurately. Okay. But again, this is 8 years of helping guys getting started with their A&P so they can attain that license or certificate is what some people would say. All right. Again, there's no GPAs, there's no valedictorian, so no one's going to ask you about that. Especially employers, they're not going to ask you, were you the valedictorian of your prep school, or were you the valedictorian of your school? Okay, if you won those type of awards, awesome, but what they care is your experience. And I've had some smart guys that weren't too mechanically inclined, but they closed the gap. So it's not, don't think that you have to be, book smart. It's not even about that. Okay. This is not set up. Our prep schools are not set up for, does it help? Yes, of course. But do you need to be? No. And we've had those people who struggle and um, we've adjusted trying to work on, certain tactics to help you memorize things that you just are struggling at. And that's what we do. So obviously number one is you're going to be tested on is your experience. That's what they're going to want to know. Tell me about your experience. I was like, well, I spent 20, 50 years on aircraft, working on Cessnas to Boeings, and I worked on these type of systems, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And of course, you want to provide the documentation to back that up. So bring your documentation. Okay. Let's see. I'm keeping notes here. That's why I keep looking down. So I apologize. Uh, but I wanted to be on topic. Be be mindful of your time because this is super important. Okay. A&P doesn't talk about like your GPA stuff. It doesn't talk about any of that stuff or how smart you are. I've met guys who just focus. They're smart and just working on aircraft. That's it. And they have the experience. And part of knowledge is having that, you know, hands-on experience. It's not just all about books. Okay. And you got to back it up with documentation. All right. So let's separate the two things that people get mixed up. Eligibility. Are you allowed to test? So the what the FAA says is that you have to have 30 months of practical experience on the airframe and power plant. Okay. Now, let's say you're avionics and never worked on the engines, or you worked on propulsion or power plants, but never on airframe. So you can get certificated for one or the other. Okay. You can get, if you're an engines guy and you just worked on engines, you can actually get your power plant certificate in 18 months. So if that's your route, take that, get your P rating is what they will say, and work on those things. Now, does it benefit you to have it? You know, maybe some certain shops, but you'll be very limited. Okay, you're not going to be working for the majors if you just have the P. Not that I heard of, but if you're watching this or you know somebody, let me know, and then I'll adjust. So uh, the other thing is, if you're avionics, never worked on engines, then you can get your license, your A certificate, which I think is a little better, and you can get that, and then later on you can work on engines later, or you should already be learning this stuff, working on it, changing the oil, inspecting, doing some minor things to gain that experience. Okay, so let's see. So that's what that means. If you worked in a tool crib, they don't care about that stuff. They want you hands on, even if you're on the job training. That's still training of or get practical experience. I'm sorry, and you're marking it down. In the military, wherever you're at, you have to have your quals. You have to have that signed off. Okay, so proof is number one. That whatever you're documenting is, even if you're avionics and you're working on engines, make sure you document that. Okay, that's super important for the inspector to have, so he can authorize you this. Um, you have proof. That's the number one thing, is that you have proof. All right. So proof number two is the documentation, and that's where you provide all your training records. All If there's extra stuff that you did, you provide that. If you work on a certain AFSC or MOS, NAS, NEC, and then you worked on something completely different, because we've run into this problem before where somebody didn't get approved because they were avionics and worked on engine stuff, and that guy had to provide a little more documentation, a little more from his leadership to provide. And the FAA can, a certain inspector can say, if he doesn't feel the warms and fuzzies about this stuff, or he just outright just you know rejects you because that's not your AFSC, then he will do that. And I've talked to other reps or other inspectors about that, and he said that if you don't feel like you've been treated correctly, then you can speak to their request their supervisor and ask them that you weren't, treated correctly. Because if you go to another one, they can see that, and you can still, you know, explain to this inspector that you weren't treated correctly if you went to another one. So I always, go that kind of like that chain of command where you tell the inspector, I don't think I was fairly treated. Go to that my guy's manager. You feel like you weren't treated correctly, or you can go to another one. So a lot of us military members and we ourselves have filed kind of complaints like that, because those things happen. And it happens, right? Like me, for myself, like I want to learn sheet metal stuff. Even within the military, they don't like me, checking out tools for sheet metal. However, uh, you're going to run into those problems. And it's something similar to that when you come to an inspector. So provide all the proof that you can do X, Y, and Z. And if you go to my school community, where we do for the A&P stuff and how to get going and connect you with employers, I'll get you this checklist so you can streamline it and know exactly what to learn, how to learn it, how much you need to learn about it. So that way, you're not reading, like you can see, like there you go. There's the books right there. You can go down the rabbit hole with those. FIA books details, what they teach to the people in school. So documentation is super important, and that's how you get documentation. Okay. Then it says My proof number 3 would be competency under test conditions, right? Written is memory plus knowledge, because we'll teach you the concepts. Then you have your experience, and then we're going to close the gaps in. Okay, orals and practicals is memory, but mostly performance. How do you test, right? So great DMEs know your, at least for the preps, they know that you studied a lot, you're wired, ready to go, full of, blood pumping, a bunch of caffeine. But well, we try to alleviate some of those things where you can be comfortable. And it is advised, and it is in the rules where it is recommended that the test candidates who get to that point, because you have to have your writtens done, then get to the orals and practicals, and DME will not schedule you unless your writtens are done for the appropriate certificates. So I always recommend students to talk to them. Sometimes we bring or Zoom a DME. That way they can be comfortable. Talk to the other guy, and like, what should I bring? Can I bring a calculator? Can I bring some tools, or can I bring X, Y, and Z? Right? And some things are not allowed. Some things are allowed. And like a calculator, very basic calculator that has all the functions, that it doesn't save memory was the rule. And some test centers won't allow it. They want you to use their stuff. And you got to understand is that they don't want to get hit up by the FAA. They don't want you, because even if you pass everything, but let's say you brought in an illegal calculator, and they find out that maybe they approved it at that time, but then later on they found out it's illegal, then all your tests are void, and then you lose your license. So you got to be careful with that. Okay, so and then you have the practicals, which is performance. This is where you will shine, because um, we that's one of the things that maintainers don't have to worry about. Maybe run it through a couple times and that's it. So this is where a lot of people stress about, a lot of have anxiety about the practicals. A lot of, what's funny, a lot of the things that you stress about are the easiest parts, because a lot of it's just memory, like math. Just memorize the questions, the answers, and that's it. Don't try to figure it out. You know, there's no way I can make you a better math person in a few days, because if you didn't get math in your first 12 years of high school or schooling, whatever that phase of your life was called, if you couldn't get it then, I'm definitely not going to get it to you in a couple of days. So those are the type of things I just don't care about, and I just want you to get past to the test. That's it. I know people don't like that, especially if you're an academic. You're like, going crazy. And some people believe something that I had to work on is that, well, I knew I wasn't going to change trying to be the best mechanic ever. No, being the best mechanic takes experience, takes maturity, takes time, and I'm definitely wasn't going to do that in two weeks. And that wasn't my goal. My goal wasn't to make you super mechanic. You know, do I'm just want to provide the services to you to where you're going to be successful, get what you need, and then I'll let the employer decide if you're super mechanic or good enough for them to work for them. It's just not my place. What you already come with the experience, you come with certain knowledge. We just close the gaps. That's it. So you can pass. Okay. So we take the advice of other institutions. We take the advice of inspectors, FAA inspectors from around the country, not just Arizona, but Texas, Florida, Vegas, Virginia, Idaho, Washington. We take their just pieces and bits to because we're trying to improve. And then we're going to go wild and go talk to a memory champion and ask them how to help my students remember stuff, and we go through project management so that we can understand a system that works and stuff like that. Do we make mistakes? Yeah. Do we did we make changes to where it hurt the student? Yes, we have. And those are the test trials that we take, and we do it almost every day. We look at the data and see who passed, what didn't pass, and then we look at the data the FAA has, and does that apply to our students? So going on a rant there, but um, your resume doesn't earn the AMP. It's just your proof. You got to have the proof. Okay. So what was taught, prepare, and then you'll dominate, okay? And we have the schooling to help you prepare so you can go dominate in those exams. All right, so 3 ways people can become eligible is a Part 147 school, which is just a college for 2 years programs. If you want to go take a crack at it because you're interested more into aviation of all different types and the basic functions at a more in-depth knowledge, that's a great way to go. Those are great for if you're starting from scratch too. A second way is the OGTs parts, right? So there's 2 paths to that. You can do the civilian route where you can go to a shop. Let's say you are a weapons guy, right? But FAA says, no, you're not really hit. Sadly, say they will say that if you're weapons. We had a lot of that going on, and go work. Get some cross training. Get some training to go work at a local airport, small shop, mom and pop shop, nonprofit organizations. They'll take you in, and I've done that for guys where just go to this nonprofit, go to Right Flight. Guy loves to teach. He loves general aviation, and he'll teach you. And you just work under his wing. And then there's the military route. And once you gain your experience there in the military, you can be authorized to take the test. All right. So college is optional, training is mandatory, and experience is the king on getting you authorized to get your AMP. And it helps you on the outside. So get your hands dirty as much as you can. If you're a crew chief like I was, work on sheet metal and avionics, big ones. If I had to pick which one's more important, probably electronics and avionics and all that jazz. So here's how people lose. They assume crew chief automatically qualifies, and it might depend on the task and the proof you provide. And sometimes I've had a great friend came in the same time I did, learned the same things I learned. He went to Washington, tried to get his AMP. They denied his engines, and I got mine. So just be careful there, okay? But don't give up. Go to another one or talk to their manager, then go to another one if that doesn't work. Um, they don't document everything, especially like they don't have no knowledge in electronics. Super important. Get that so that way you can provide all the proof, give the inspector all the warms and fuzzies he needs to sign you off. Okay, and uh, this is a big one. I've seen this too many times where guys wait to the very end within the year or right after they get out and they find, oh man, I wish this was around. Well, it's not too late. You can still get it because your experience doesn't expire. You have your DD 214. You can use that as documentation and what you worked on. Okay, and as much proof you can provide of your experience, the better. And if you're just sometimes like I was studying on my own, didn't know what was important, what was not important. And then now test preps can kind of guide you along, tell you what you need to know, not to know, and according to the local areas. And when I say that is a certain DME might be a stickler for certain things from the feedback we get, and the feedback we get from the DME, you might yell at us, get your shit together type of stuff, but we learn and we adjust. So um, I apologize for the guys that had that before, but our content is just a straight flow, streamlined to get you to pass in a more efficiently matter. Okay, so you can go on and have your life ready to go after the military. So it'll make it a lot easier, right? So all right, so don't talk to me. I talked to a lot of different people of all sorts of walks of life in aviation, and I'll tell you this: 99% of my experience trying to gain this knowledge was positive. Did I have a couple bad actors or a couple bad people who wasn't willing to help? Or do I have a couple of people who are trying out to get me? Yeah, it happens. It happens, and it just shows that you're doing great things. And two, I fucked up and I just built a bad reputation on some of those things. So, But when it comes to A&P, for the most part, guys are super helpful. FAA has been super helpful. DME is super helpful from coast to coast. Groups super helpful. Of course, with their shit talking, but that's normal too. They're gonna give you shit, and that's okay. It's okay. I got thick skin. Military built me up to have thick skin, and stuff just slides off me like Teflon. Um, and get some guidance too. The main source would be the FAA. The FAA will guide you. Will they give you attitude? Maybe. I talked to them quite a bit, and a lot of them think because they have this experience, they're entitled. It's like, no, you gotta prove yourself a little bit. They don't know you. You gotta understand that part. They don't know who you are. So go in there, humbled, dressed, ready to go, and just prove that you have experience. Okay, don't go in there. We've had students that we've had that before. Go in there trying to get their authorization. Acting arrogant, and you don't want to do that. That's the fastest way. You're not going to get your AMP. So save this. If there's a maintainer that needs to hear this, please share it with them. Notify me. Have them follow this page, and then join if you're looking to get your AMP, join our online school. It's free right now. Looking to add a price to it each month, a subscription where you can get weekly guidance. But right now it's self-paced. You can do it. We got study material. We have videos on the concepts, how to do things. Yeah, so that I love this thing. We built this. It took us a couple of years to build this. Now we're providing it free. We've been providing it for free for 2 years now, and now we're putting a lot of effort into this to grow the awareness, because our mission is to make sure that you attain your AMP. Too many people get out and not know about these things, and that's a very common theme with veterans. So we try to minimize that, get the help from everybody, companies, governments, and in our community too, right here, to help you out and be successful during your next chapter of your life. Okay, so again, please share, like this if you did think this was super valuable. And if you have any comments, feedbacks about maybe I said something wrong, or you just don't like my teeth, or you didn't like my bald head, uh, DM me, comment. That the school right here, like down here, right there, that QR code. The best way to get a hold of me is through there. That's number one. I get notifications. I would say LinkedIn is probably next, and then I go in through Facebook as well. The other channels, not so much. But if you're on there, just go over to LinkedIn, go over to my school. I'll answer there. All right. So pulling chalks here, guys. You have a safe, great day on this weekend. Uh, let's not have fatherless kids or end up in jail anywhere. That's your safety brief for the weekend. Take care of yourself.